Just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and Native American peoples. Here in our house in Vancouver, these peoples are the Musqueam, Stolo, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. But I know where many of you are, you're on the land of other nations. Always, but especially during this time, let's remember our connection to our sisters and brothers in these nations, and pray for the day in which we might all come together in right relationship. Welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are there in your own home. Please bring who you are in with us into our community today. But what you are asked to remember is that the faces sitting around you have brought who they are into this community with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. Our opening song is going to be led by Bruce and Cheryl. I think the way they said this works is if we all mute our mics, that way we'll still be able to hear them. Otherwise, if we're all singing into our mics at the same time, it is going to cut out and we won't hear them properly. And they're going to lead us in Come, wherever you are.
Hi everyone. We're just going to put song lyrics up on the screen too. Do you see that, everybody?
Everybody's
yes,
muted.
great.
We've got
looks
it.
Great. Yep.
No, Rosenbauer, pressure from my. Doing well, just a second.
Here we are.
Push this down.
No, you don't have to. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl.
It worked reasonably well, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was great. Thank you.
So for our announcements, I don't know how many we have since everything in the world is canceled. We are still hoping to do our next service in 2 weeks as our Passover Seder. That is that's going to be a fun, exciting adventure because a Seder, as many of you know, requires us to have different plates of food, a lot of foods that you probably don't have in your house already, and which I don't know, given the current apocalyptic grocery shopping, how easy it will be to get those foods. So, but we can always do it without having the foods or with subbing in whatever you happen to have. So we're going to try that. And my friend Susan Partnow, who lives in Seattle, she is going to be leading it, God willing. So we're still working out the details for that, but that's still the hope. And I'll be sure to send you an email giving you an update about that. it is kind of fun because it's about liberation and freedom, and it feels really on topic right now, given like the 10 plagues and everything. So it should be very interesting. But yes, so we'll see. So hopefully we're still going to have that. And then also our good friend Sukhvinder Kaur from the Sikh community. She is so lovely, and she's hosting several meditations via Zoom on several nights this coming week to try to help people connect both to the community at large and to the creator. And she does something called the Mool Mantar meditation, which has to do with, I believe it's the 7 or 9 attributes of God and how we can manifest them ourselves and then use them in the world. And it's really lovely. So I think the first one was going to be on Sunday, but I believe it's now moved to Tuesday night. Is that correct, Aloysia? It's going to be on Tuesday night at 8 p.m.?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So we're going to try to be on that, or at least Samir and I are going to try to be on that. And if anyone else is interested, let me know and I'll send you the Zoom link. That's everything for announcements right now with us. How about the rest of you, friends? Okay.
Well, I was going to say we are doing the Anglican morning prayer in Compline. If anybody wants to join, you can message me, or it's the traditional service, so it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I found it very comforting since we've been doing it. We started early last week, so.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It sounds really good.
This is not exactly an announcement, but I was going to wish everyone Navroz Mubarak. It's the Persian New Year that's also celebrated by Ismaili Muslims and some other groups, and it marks the beginning of spring and the beginning of the Persian New Year. So Navroz Mubarak to all.
Navroz Mubarak.
The celebrations are going to be very different this year than usual.
Hey, thank you. Here, let's come into silence for a moment and we'll do our opening prayer. Turning to the Tathagata by Thich Nhat Hanh. We, as spiritual children for countless past lives, have chased after worldly things. Unable to recognize the clear, pure basis of our true mind, our actions, body, speech, and mind have been unwholesome. We've drowned in ignorant cravings, jealousy, hatred, and anger. But now the sound of the great bell has caused us to awaken with a heart that is determined to renew our body and our mind. Please help us completely remove the red dust of all wrongdoings, mistakes, and faults. We, as spiritual children in this moment, make the vow to leave all our habit energies behind, and for the whole of our life to go for refuge to the Sangha, our community. Awakened ones, please place your hand over us in protection, so that loving kindness and compassion will guide and assist us. May our heart's garden of awakening bloom with hundreds of flowers. May we bring the feelings of peace and joy into every one of our households. May we plant wholesome seeds on 10,000 paths. May we never attempt to escape the suffering of the world, but always be present wherever beings need our help. May mountains and rivers be our witness in this moment, as we bow our heads and request the Lord of Compassion to embrace us all. Earth brings us into life and nourishes us. Earth takes us back again. Birth and renewal and death are always present in every moment. Now is the time when we usually do our passing of the peace. This is going to be a bit different this time. So I think, I'm not sure if we all see each other in the same order, but how about if you take yourselves off mute, and if we sort of go one by one and say something like peace be with you or salam alaikum to everyone else in community.
Peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum.
And with you.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you, everyone.
Peace be with you, my friends.
Peace be with you all.
Be with you from the Kootenays.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hey.
Amar just said peace be with you. Won't come here and say it. Inara, tu bolte hai? And Inara is too shy to say it.
Peace be with you, everyone. It's so wonderful seeing your smiling faces. Thanks for joining us this morning. Bruce and Cheryl, do you have a song you'd like to sing?
Yes, we'll sing again. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another. We sing that again. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another. Oh, behold. Oh, yes, behold. I see a new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another. I see a new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another. I see a new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. A new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another. Oh, behold. Oh, yes, behold. I see a new heaven and a new earth. Behold one another.
Thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can share this. Let me see. Let me figure out how to do that. Here we go. Okay, can you all see this? This is our order of service. I did update it. So now is the time for our joint affirmation. So if we'll all say this together. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Thank you. And instead of a call and response prayer, like we usually do, I wanted to do just a poetry sharing. I actually was blessed with many different wonderful options, as I'm sure you all were this week, of people trying to reflect on our current situation in poetry. I chose one from Brother Richard Hendrick in Ireland from a few days ago. It's called Lockdown. Lockdown. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. And yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number through the neighborhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, and the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen behind the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is here. And we're always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
There's some interfaith service thing that my sister sent that Bill knows the woman who's doing it.
Oh, uh-huh. Yes. Eli? Okay, thank you. I think now is a good time for us to all take a few minutes to pray for medical teams all over the world. This is a time when, because we come from different traditions, we all have different ways of praying and offering up hope and love to others. So each service, we sort of take some time and pray in whatever way is most comfortable or most familiar to you. For me, it's more of a meditation as a Buddhist, but in every tradition, we all have different ways of praying. So if we could think now about the doctors and nurses who are literally risking their lives and working 16-hour days right now, trying to take care of people all over the world. Let's just think about them and pray for them however we can. Thank you. Bruce and Cheryl, I think you have another song for us.
Great, bringing it up now.
Hey, Kathy, you might want to mute Dave and Sally.
Oh, okay. Sure thing.
Thanks.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem in terra. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem in terra. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem in terra. Dona nobis pacem.
Thank you. Bruce and Cheryl, could you sing the next song and then I'll offer the explanation afterwards? From you I receive.
Yes,
Thank you.
just have to forward it one. Oh, there we are. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you. Usually that's the song we sing when we take up the collection. We're not doing that right now, although donations to the sanctuary would still be much appreciated through our website. But there are lots of other groups that need our help now, more than we do. So I've been keeping track. I know the Canadian Blood Services is in desperate need of blood donations. Sadly, we're unable to donate because we were in India just a couple months ago, and that's a malaria risk country. But people who are able to donate, yes, if there's any desire or ability at all, that's much appreciated at this time. Also, the Greater Vancouver Food Bank really needs donations and money. Lots of people aren't going to be able to pay rent or buy food right now because their income has just been completely slashed, or they're laid off right now indefinitely. The money that we usually spend on buying groceries for our coffee hour after this, we sent to the Greater Vancouver Food Bank, but certainly they need more. So all of us who have the means, now is when, if we have the means, now is when we share and hopefully support one another. I don't know if anyone else knows of any specific groups or people that need anything, feel free to tell us about them right now if you do. Okay, thank you.
I don't know of any specific groups, but you know, many communities do have like a Facebook group or something of that kind where, you know, people are posting, you know, if they need help and or, you know, if they're willing to offer help. And that's a good place to kind of reach out if you either need help or are able to offer help. And, you know, usually there's ways to do it while also like limiting contact, dropping, you know, buying stuff for people and dropping it off on their doorstep and such. And, you know, it's been really inspiring to see how people have been coming together in that regard. So even though it's not a specific organization that needs money, you know, I would encourage those of you who, again, either need help or are able to offer help to look for such a Facebook group in your area.
Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, Bruce and Cheryl, would you like to share our last song?
Sure, we can do that. A song for this time and place as we deepen into our time together. Don't be afraid, my love is stronger. My love is stronger than your fear. Don't be afraid. My love is stronger, and I have promised to be always near. Don't be afraid, my love is stronger. My love is stronger than your fear. Don't be afraid, my love is stronger. I have promised to be always near. Don't be afraid. My love is stronger. My love is stronger than your fear. Don't be afraid. My love is stronger, and I have promised to be always near.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, this is certainly an interesting time. I had said to Samir about 2 weeks ago that it would have been nice over the summer, before I knew all this would happen. I was saying, oh, I'd love to go on a silent retreat, maybe just for a couple days, to go somewhere like maybe at Rivendell and just be in silence, not talk to anyone, just sort of, you know, be in nature and be alone. I think that'd be really restorative for my spirit. And I don't think I need that now, because I think we're all kind of in an enforced spiritual retreat. Although I have to admit it has a lot more technology than I was anticipating. I do find that very interesting. And I find this time so fascinatingly paradoxical, that usually as a religious leader, my impulse is to try to bring people together for comfort, like under all situations, you know, don't stay home, don't be isolated, we have to come together. And now actually the most compassionate thing we can do for each other is to stay away, except through technology. So this is a very topsy-turvy, upside-down time where the more we're on screens, the more connected we are, the more we want to take care of each other, the more we have to just not touch or talk to anybody in person. We have nature is being rejuvenated at the same time that all the humans, all our activity has shut down. And so this is this really fascinating time that's very scary. I think it's scary for most of us, but I also think there's a lot of hope here, and we just don't know what's gonna happen. And I think that's really what we're sort of seeing. I think it was actually weirdly Ulysses S. Grant who said all the problems in the world are caused by people being unable to stay alone in a room and sit quietly. And now that's what we're all being asked to do. Yeah, from a Buddhist perspective, I think this is a really good time. There's a great koan that I really love. This says, imagine you're being chased by a tiger. And so you jump off a cliff to get away from the tiger. But you see there are crocodiles below. So you're hanging onto the cliff. So you look up and you see the tiger, and you look down and you see the crocodiles. But right in front of you, there are strawberries. So what do? You eat the strawberries. And they say all of life is like that. That if we're so caught up in the past of what we're escaping from or where we wish we'd been before we jumped off the cliff, then we're not enjoying the strawberries. But if we're also sitting there and ignoring the thing in front of us because we're anxious about what's below us with the crocodiles, we're still not enjoying the strawberries. And then we're never in the present moment. And in that way, I find this really beautiful because nobody does know what's going to happen. We can't look to the past exactly. We can look to some things, like the Spanish flu, just about exactly 100 years ago, to see how they handled things then. But our situation is so different now in our interconnectedness with technology and the medical technology. And then we don't have any idea what's going to happen in the future. It could be crocodiles, or as Samir told me this morning, he said, or it could be a 5-foot drop. That it's actually fine. We actually have no idea. But we do have strawberries. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this happening during spring, is we're seeing nature is coming back to life. In our garden, I see in the front, you have all the dead leaves and the dead stems from last year, but now there are all the little green shoots coming off of them. And a plant that looked completely dead is coming back to life now. And in having all this time at home, not being able to go to the 100 places I usually go to, I hunkered down with the kids and we planted an absurd number of seeds this week, probably too many seeds, honestly. But it's so lovely, and just every day checking on them and waiting to watch the new life come. And that's what we get to see. And I think in our normal day, so many of us are so busy and so distracted by things and wanting to either go out to be with people, which is wonderful, but then maybe our energy is getting dissipated in that way, or we're not really getting rejuvenated and not really working on the stuff inside us. Or working so hard at our jobs, trying to make money, trying to make a living, trying to get accolades and sort of live into our potential or prove ourselves. And all that's being shut down right now. And so I think we just have to sit in silence. And in that way, it's so beautiful because I think we're so human-centric that we think, how can there be spring with us being inside? But we're just one part of creation. And we've actually been harming creation by our overdoing in so many ways. I saw someone said this, and I think this is so true. that it's almost like nature said, now go to your room, you're grounded. And I think there's a lot to that. And just seeing, you know, they're looking at the pollution indexes in the areas where people are settling down. Suddenly the pollution goes away. Suddenly there are animals coming back to a lot of these places. There've been some really funny stories about some of the animals returning. And we're so used to thinking that we have to do everything, that we're the ones who know what's going to happen. And if anything good's going to happen, it has to come from us. And that we're also responsible for all the problems in the world. I see a lot of people trying to blame folks in China or different political parties or whomever for this. And I think it can be really difficult to say, like, you know, things happen. There's just this isn't anybody's fault. Sometimes things happen and not everything's about humans. And can we enjoy things that aren't about humans and to just take some stock and think about what is it in our own lives? What can we learn from this time? You know, I don't want anybody to be sick. I don't want anybody to be in fear. I certainly don't want anybody to die. But I also don't want us to go through this and then the second we're allowed outside again and the second it's gone, that we immediately go back to how things were. That we immediately go back to, like, we're going to travel too much, we're going to consume too many resources, we're going to mistreat animals, we're not going to enjoy our families, we're not going to take a moment's silence to be by ourselves and think about our own priorities. We're not going to notice all the cracks in the system, that the rich have all these things and the poor don't have any access to resources. But because that's the status quo, nobody cares or thinks about it. Like, I don't want that. It's a common thing that when you have a new possibility, you compare the new possibility to an ideal situation rather than the current situation. And let's not do that. Let's not pretend that the way everything was, like, on January 1st was perfect. And so we really need to get back to January 1st. Let's take this time to imagine how things could be better and what it means to really have renewal, not just in nature, although nature is teaching us right now, but how to do it in ourselves and how to really learn and work through the things we need to, so that when we can go outside, when things do start up again, that we have that kind of community. You know, I've been talking to neighbors right now that I've never spoken to before. And that's on me. You know, we're talking from across the street. We're keeping social distance, but we're checking on each other. And we've never checked on each other before, and that's not okay. It's not okay for us not to think about the people who are living paycheck to paycheck because someone else is going to take care of them in their industry. And it's not okay for us to consume all these resources until we burn out. At least this way, we're being enforced to stay home before we completely burn out and destroy not only ourselves, but also all of creation. So in many ways, I think this is such a blessing, and we just have to try to see it as a blessing. Take in the strawberries and then be there for each other and have more compassion. You know, that's really what it means to be a society. I think my favorite thing I saw all week said, maybe after all this is over, we'll learn that we're not an economy, we're a society. And if we can take this time not to focus on our careers, but to share whatever we have. If you have extra chicken or vegetables in the freezer, you don't need them in the next few days, you can share them with your neighbor. We can really come together and we can create something beautiful that was more beautiful than it was before. And so I just really hope we'll take this time to do that. And I'm really inspired seeing lots of your names on here of folks and some faces of folks we don't usually see. And if we can figure out ways that we can maintain community, you know, it shouldn't take an apocalypse for us to care about each other, right? And for us to sit quietly in our rooms for a few minutes. Apparently it did, but it shouldn't. And so what can we learn from this? And how can we grow? So that then when the time is right, we can come back into nature and be at one with it and not in opposition. So thank you so much for this time. Aloysia, would you like to lead us in a meditation?
Please, yes. As we stay in this quiet space of reflection, Kathy's given us many
It's a
experiences.
wide space for reflection for the rest of you.
Okay, Samir, you do what you can.
Yep.
And you will find one later, perhaps. But for right now, in this space, with Kathy's words in our hearts, let's let them sink into our bones, into all of our body, into our souls. Let our minds go loose and allow Spirit, the divine as we know it to be, to come to us right now and help us reset. Help us remember who we are as children of God, as divine beings, here, in this moment. What is it here that is a gift for me and that I am to give gifts to others? How is it that I can open to compassion and love, harmony and peace more right now within myself? What is it that I can release? The fear, the judgment, the worrying, knowing that the divine truly is here with me, leading me, guiding me, holding me in every moment. What is it that I can release to come into balance and share these gifts with those around me? However that might look in this time of new everything. Allow your imagination, allow your inspiration to show you. Breathe deeply now into that place of peace, into that place of compassion for yourself first. It is not easy to live in times like this. Breathe deeply now into that place of love, into that place of safety that the divine provides for us. And breathe deeply now into that place of harmony, into that place of balance. Harmony within ourselves, that balance. Harmony in the world, in our neighborhood, in our homes. Allowing us all to remember that we are of the divine. And there are gifts here for everyone if we choose to be still and know. In closing, Kathy, I think we talked about maybe sharing if someone is aware of a gift in this time that they perhaps were not aware of before, or even as you are aware of, you just share a few words. Gratitude. So please do so.
Yes, I'd like to share the gift of just seeing the rejuvenation of nature. That's the way that animals can come back and the way life can come back to a place if we just give it a moment's rest. That's really inspiring to me.
Kathy had told me that there was an article in Forbes that the reduced human activity is not only helping us understand the impact of climate change, but also it's actually saving lives. And apparently it's estimated to save 77,000 lives in China alone. And, you know, that's not the only way you measure the outcome of this, by the net number of lives saved or lost. You know, there's also a lot of economic impact, but the economic impact is also being mitigated by people coming together and helping each other. So it's not all, what's the phrase, roses and something, but you know, there is a lot of silver linings, a lot of silver linings. And I think it's worth remembering that despite everything else going on.
Just to pick up from what Samir has said, I've been really moved to see conversations starting about how economic activity can be resumed in ways that are more sustainable. And that conversation also amongst not only people who have been called environmentalists, but economists and politicians. So, you know, that is exciting. And also very moved by the reality of people reaching out to each other who aren't always in touch with one another. That's pretty special.
These two are always in touch with each other, and me and Kathy. The entire time from URC was being sung, and I was sitting here going, mama, 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 mama. Kathy may still need a silent retreat after all.
All right then. I trust that as we go into these next moments, even because things have changed so much even in a moment, that we remember to breathe into that moment and allow both the fear to come up and be released, as well as the new possibilities. And in that way, we continue to stay in balance as best we can. Thank you. Kathy.
Thank you so much, Eloisia, for that, and to everyone for sharing. Let's just do our closing, our benediction. May all beings be happy. May we be peaceful, at ease. May we be free to live and love fully. May we love ourselves just the way we are. May we be healthy. May we remember that even when we are in our own homes, we are still in community. We can still reach out to one another. May we support each other during this time. May we honor the doctors and nurses who are putting their lives at risk to protect all of us. And let us remember that now is the time for us to grow into new life and to be renewed, just as the earth around us is being renewed. Amen. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.